Welcome. Kicking it with Coach K podcast. I am your host today, Coach K. So we have a little bit of a switch here, all right, on the episodes today. We had an emergency with our guest. We hope everything's all right with Coach. But today we're going to kind of switch things up a little bit, kind of talk about our camps this weekend that are coming up, and kind of shout out to Brain Jerk, who brings this show to us today with Kennedy Health and Wellness. But we're going to talk about few events that Brain Jerk has coming up and some different things. And then, as you guys know, Twitter, Facebook, we got a lot of opinions going on right now on some certain situations in sports. Today I'm going to take some time just to give my thoughts on a few things, from the Deion Sanders situation at Colorado, just to kind of piggyback off of, as we actually went to Concordia today and watched another spring game as spring ball wraps up, just kind of the importance again of trying to push this in Michigan and really get word. I believe in this podcast. I believe in our guest. I believe in Brain Jerk. I believe in the people that we surround ourselves with to push things in the world to a higher place, to elevate things. So I believe we have a platform here and we need to use it. So I will continue to do that today when it comes to helping kids get opportunities to be better. All right. So we're going to talk about some things today. Again, show brought to you by Brain Jerk and Kennedy Health and Wellness. Brain Jerk, welcome to the Brain Jerk era. These guys have a ton going on. Brain Jerk is, I'm telling you guys, I just talked to Josh before the show. They have so much coming up on the schedule. They've got the podcast network, right, which has like something crazy, like 10 plus podcasts going on right now or something like that. It's wild. Obviously, shout out to them for this show. This is I believe our 12th episode. Yep. We had the Detroit Prowl on. Shout out to the Detroit Prowl. They were episode 11. Go back and check that out if you didn't get to see that. We kind of did like a spur of the moment episode. We got a couple of the players to come in and one of the owners / coaches. And it was awesome. So great time, great interview. They're sharing their stories. They were awesome. They were funny. They were fun to be around. They were genuine. They were hardcore football players, hardcore love for the game. I loved every bit of that interview. It was honestly awesome. Make sure you go back and look at that. But back to Brain Jerk real quick before we get on with the show. Guys, they have all types of events coming up. They have, as I said, podcasts almost every day of the week that you can watch. They had a show, A Taste Of. A lot of you probably remember going around to different restaurants and highlighting different businesses in the restaurant industry and kind of what they're known for, the dishes they're known for. And it was really awesome. Brought a lot of recognition to local businesses. So shout out to those guys. It's coming back here in May. So that's big time stuff. It's always fun. They got a Risk tournament coming up. So anybody who's interested in playing the game Risk, I know that my wife is trying to make sure that we get up here for that. She's super excited. So make sure you guys get up here and come play some Risk with us. They also got comedy shows. They got a whole bunch of comedy shows that are kind of getting scheduled all over. So it's awesome because no matter where you are right now, and I mean that kind of almost in the state of Michigan, as they have one all the way up in Battle Creek, they have comedy shows right now that are kind of popping up all over. So go check out the Big Boys of Comedy. Shout out to Brain Jerk and the Big Boys of Comedy for doing that. It's incredible. So they're also going to be at Combat One on May 5th. So make sure you stop out and see them on May 5th. I believe, Josh, where's that at? Where is Combat One at? In Waterford. Check out the Combat One page. Brain Jerk will be in the house that night as well. So make sure you check them out. Also, shows brought to you by Kennedy Health and Wellness. We are your one-stop shop for everything from coaching services to candles and body care. So shout out to my wife for making great lotions and different bar soaps and things of that nature, and soy candles, 100% soy candles. Our next event will actually be at Maybe Days next to the Brain Jerk tent. So we'll be right next to each other. Come out to Maybe Days. There's a ton going on, a ton of fun stuff for the kids, for adults, for everybody, family. Make sure you bring everybody out. Come enjoy it. We'll be out there. That's our next event. And I also want to add in 25% of our sales that day will go to Oaks. So if you want to come on out and help a good cause, come on out and you can donate and help out Oaks as well. So we have some great sponsors of this show today that I want to shout out before we get into things. Amaya's Fresh Mexican Grill, The Little Brown Jug, Deb's Floral Designs, Lane's Pizzeria, IWR, Muggsy Sports Grill and Bar, Monroe Sports Center Bowling, Nerdy Designs, All Heart Athletics, and Monroe County Sports Network. I want to give a shout out today. I just got to give him some extra love to Nerdy Designs. He's been working his tail off. John has for Brain Jerk, for me, for a lot of businesses. I've asked him for a ton lately, and he's been stepping through for everybody big time. So appreciate you, Nerdy Designs. Also want to give some love today while we got a few minutes here to All Heart Athletics. So if you did not hear, All Heart Athletics is opening a second location in Dundee. So that's big news, big news. So All Heart, formerly Rick's, they do a lot of stuff for our community, for our sports teams, as far as jackets, jerseys, gear. This hat I have on today, shout out to Erie Mason, go Eagles. This came from All Heart, but All Heart is opening a second location. Make sure you kind of stay tuned on that development and pop out there. Those in that area, that's going to benefit you guys big time. So the Summerfield school kids and the Britton Deerfields and Dundee and some of those schools will benefit from having that out there. So that's super awesome. Before we jump into our quote of the day, we have our sports development camp this weekend, May 6th and 7th. It's at the ALCC, so the Opportunity Center at the ALCC. Spots are filled. We have about 36 kids right now signed up. We're going to have kids split in the weight room, in the gym. We might even have a group go outside if it's nice. But it's going to be awesome. I got like 4 or 5 coaches coming out. I want to shout them out real quick. So Jovan Johnson, shout out to Coach Johnson. Shout out to Delmar Hoskins. Shout out to Coach Shea Small. Henry Jones, Coach Jones, who was on the show at the beginning. You guys might remember Coach Jones will be out helping the camp. So we have some awesome coaches coming out to help the camp. The kids will have a ton of resources at their disposal, a ton of coaching. We're going to kind of introduce Monroe to overtime athletes. So OTA out of St. Petersburg, Florida is and I mean this, everybody says this, but they are truly a leader in sports performance and how athletes train and stay healthy and kind of perform for their seasons coming up. I mean, these guys are legit. And, a while ago, I was asked to do a program through them. And it's changed my life. It's changed our athletes around here, the ones I'm working with. It's changed the Erie Mason program in the weight room. So shout out to OTA. We'll be introducing Monroe more to the overtime athletes training. A lot of people who are watching this probably have seen me post their videos. All that cool stuff that you guys see and all that coaching, we're looking to elaborate that now in the area. So we're going to do that through our camps. And also leading into our next thing through our sports performance class, our sports performance training that launches May 13th. That's every week. So the camp May 6th and 7th is just a 2-day thing. We'll do it again in the summer. This, though, if you want some more elaborate coaching or continued coaching, this goes on every week at 1817 CrossFit starting May 13th. So shout out to them. Awesome facility over there. Incredible people. Genuine. I know them and All Heart Athletics, the owners, they're actually friends. So it's like a whole kind of cool group over here of just really genuine people. So awesome to be a part of all that, whether it's this show, coaching, just being around great people. Shout out to Coach Harris last week. Coach Chris Harris said, his big thing in life is just helping athletes move and being around genuine people. So I think it's important just to shout them out. Also, our Big Back Prep is starting. Got to shout out our athletes, Justin Davis and Andrew Stockton, our first 2 running backs to join Big Back Prep. Shout out to those fellas. Trine University commits. So them guys are going to be coming up every week, starting May 13th as well at 1817 CrossFit. Running back and linebacker training. Come on out. I'm telling you guys, it's about to get crazy in there. We're about to have an absolute blast. That's private group training. That's no holds bars. I'm telling you, we're just getting to work. That is for the people who Big Back Prep is for the people who are trying to be elite. This is for guys who are looking for scholarships. All right. That's what we're looking for. Or young guys who are really looking to develop at a fast rate. That's what we're looking for. So if you sound like a running back or a linebacker in the area or downriver and you fit that mold, I need to see you on May 13th. If you're a student athlete in Monroe County and you're trying to elevate, trying to get to an elite level, trying to get healthier, all these different things, I need to see you May 13th for our sports performance class. All right. Let's get into our quote of the day. Pressure is a privilege. That's it. Short and simple. That's by Tim Grover. Anytime you're in a pressure situation, It's a privilege. Anytime you feel pressure in your life from outside sources, it's because great things are expected of you. It's because you're expected to handle the situations that arise, because the obstacles that are presented in front of you, the people around you trust you to handle those. So anytime you feel pressure, just understand that it's a privilege. It also can either burst pipes or make diamonds, right? That's the old saying. So use that pressure. Understand it's a privilege. Use it as an opportunity to do something great. That's the quote of the day. Honestly, I live by that quote. It's just something that I think we get too caught up in stress and thinking that the things we go through in life from outside sources, whether it be work, whether it be mom and dad when we're young, whether it be coach, we always sometimes think these things are hard on us. And really, honestly, a lot of times it's an honor to have those things in your life, to have those pressures. It means that people expect things out of you. It's expected of you to be great because of who you are. So take it as that. Hopefully somebody takes that today and can learn something from it. So guys, today we're going to be kind of going just into a few different things. Actually, let's get our read of the weekend before we jump in. I apologize. Let's get our read of the weekend. Our read of the week is Art of War. All right, many coaches who watch this, I know you've already read this. I know this is not some new book, but you know what? I found myself lately in life, looking to become more calculated. All right, and I think a lot of us with today's society, how we move, how we act, kind of acting on reaction and emotion, I think all of us could take a step back and learn how to be more calculated, learn how to do things in a more thought out process. And so I thought this was super important today to kind of mention this book, this Art of War. Really does a great job at explaining how to attack different things in life, your enemies, obviously, or attack situations, whether that be, again, high pressure situations. Obviously, there's no more high pressure situation than a battlefield. So I think it's just a great book, right, when it comes to those sort of things. If you haven't read that yet, take some time, read it. It's not extremely long. There's parts of it that you may have to look up to interpret, but for the most part, you can understand what it's trying to tell you in the messages. So definitely recommend it. Again, just getting back to what I was saying, just find myself as a coach and as a person wanting to think farther and farther ahead. Last week we did Patrick Bet-David's book about the 5 rules of business, or I know I just butchered the name of the book. I apologize, but that's essentially what it's about, is thinking 5 steps ahead, right? And I think it's just becoming more and more important that we are calculated in what we're doing every step of the way, understanding what comes next, understanding what comes 3 moves down the road. So again, this is a great book to kind of understand that better and understand how to make moves within a lot of different situations in life, and kind of different ways to look at it and understand what may come next, or what you may want to look for instead of certain things. So check this book out, read it. You can get it at Barnes and Noble. It's like, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks. And honestly, if you don't have the money and you want to read it, talk to me. You can borrow mine. I have no problem with that. I'll ship it out to you, or I'll come get it to you. I promise. If there's a student athlete out there who wants to check it out. So guys, we're going to talk about some things today. A couple hot topics. All right. And these have been going on the past few months. And, a lot of times when we come on here, we have people on that are interviewing, and we want to talk about their story and their coaching philosophies. And we want to touch on hot topics and hear their side of things. And, a lot of times I try to stay kind of quieter. I know at times I'll put my thoughts in, or, react, or go back and forth with somebody, or agree, or whatever. But I try for the most part. But this is a chance to kind of get some thoughts on some things that have been going on out there, whether it be things that were there's a couple things from the last month or two, and then there's some things that were more recently that we're just going to go on and talk about some things, and I'm going to spit some truth and tell you guys just the real about how some of this goes. And if you disagree, then I'd love to talk to you after the show. I'm a big person when it comes to conversation. I love conversations on things. So these things are just things that I think we need to talk about as a society, especially in sports and coaching. So I want to dive into some topics today. So first things first, let's start with the women's basketball tournament. All right. Let's start with the debate that went on for like a month, just about, the actions of the players, and Caitlin and Angel and all that stuff. And some people loved it, some hated it. and all that indifference. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Wow, was it good for the sport? Wow. Women's basketball was viewed more than it ever had been before, from what I understand. Now, this is me going off of some pictures and stuff I've seen on whatever Bleacher Reports or whatever. So, but from what I understand, it was the most watched tournament. So, any way you look at it, that's a win, right? You want eyes on the sport. You need eyes on the sport because, again, there's layers to this. The more eyes on the sport, the more girls want to play basketball. The more girls want to play basketball at a high level and do the extra work. The more people want to go to a game with their family next year after seeing that tournament. There's a whole lot of things that kind of layer into this, right? And we need to think on a deeper level than just, well, I don't like that they were trash talking. That's kind of a garbage way to just think that this wasn't a successful basketball tournament. So for those of you who watched this, who might have said, oh, I didn't like it, it was unsportsmanlike, that tournament was, it was gross, it was garbage. I'm just here to tell you, you're wrong. The tournament was exciting. It was thrilling. It was watched by everybody. I watched women's basketball in the championship before this year, if I'm just being accountable. And maybe a game or two here and there. But for the most part, I might catch a high school game, but for the most part, I'm watching a game here and there. I watched a lot of that tournament, a lot of it. And now I'm sitting here going, yeah, I'm going to watch women's basketball next season from tip-off, from game one. I'm going to find me a couple teams that I find interesting, and I'm going to root for players that work hard, and I'm genuinely going to get into the sport because this tournament turned me into that kind of fan. From a casual watch here and there fan to I'm into that. That's cool. That's awesome. So that's the first thing, right? Second thing with this is, let's not forget why people play sports, okay? We don't play sports, and I know sportsmanship is a thing. I get it. There's a respect factor. However, we never started sports to make friends. We never started sports to be nice. We started sports to compete because at our core, as humans, we like to compete. We like to go at it. We like to see how much better we can get. We like to see how high we can climb a ladder to a top. Me and Josh just talked about this. Shout out to Josh for everything he does for this damn show. We just talked to Josh, and we were talking about climbing the mountaintop. Got to do more. Got to work harder. That was his words. That's why we do so much. Got to do more. Got to work harder. So we do things in life, in business, in sports, and anything because we're competitors at the end of the day. We like to compete. And it may be competing with yourself. I just have to be, I have to be the best thing I can be. And I know that's this level. And if that comes with the thought that I'm going to be past a lot of people, then so be it. That's my confidence in myself. You're supposed to have that. But when it comes to that women's tournament, these are competitors. That's what they're supposed to be. All right. That's what sports does. So when we want to talk about getting mad when there was no punches thrown, there was some trash talk, right? But we're getting mad at people in the most competitive moments, right? Because they're in championship games or tournament games, and we're mad because they're playing with passion. And you could tell me, coach, don't mix passion with unsportsmanlike. No. Then you clearly have never played a sport at a high level, and you've clearly never been to a championship game. Clearly. Because that's just, I'm telling you right now, that's the way this goes. Those girls care, both of them. Caitlin, Angel, sorry to the girl from Louisville who transferred to LSU, but shout out to her as well. But they play with fire. They play with fire. Now, do you need to, is there a line? Of course. But I don't believe they crossed the line. I don't think there was no punches thrown. There was no, there was no threats after the game. There was nothing like that. It was trash talking on a court in the middle of a heated competition, which they both did. Remind everybody, because everybody was mad at Angel from LSU when Caitlin did it games before. So, and we won't even get into all that. But the fact is this is competition. All right. This is what athletes are supposed to do. Yes, we need to have sportsmanship. Yes, we can shake hands after the game, but I don't have to like you. I don't have to like you at all. And I can make sure that I do my best to beat you in that game. This whole participation trophy thing, no. I can beat you and get the number one place trophy if that's what I truly want, right? I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to work hard and beat you and be the number one spot, or, work my tail off to try to get to that number one spot. That's my right. All right. So that's just kind of how I feel about that. All right. The competition thing, got to compete. Every Monday at Erie Mason, we call it Monster Monday. Shout out to Coach Zoe Guess up at MSU. Great guy. Shout out to Coach because he may watch this. But Coach, they do it on Thursday, right? Or I believe it's one of the days later in the week, but they do it later in the week, and they do a competition day on Thursday, and it's incredible, man. They just let people go at it just to gain that competitive edge throughout. We make competitions out of everything. Weightlifting, who can lift more weights, who's faster, who's everything, who's more durable, who shows up to the weight room and gets their extra work in, their durability and mobility work, who comes to fort. Everything is a competition. On Mondays, we do our Monster Monday. Guys compete. Last 15, 20 minutes, middle school, high school, doesn't matter. They get after it. So let's not get away from the fact that our athletes are competitors. That's what they do. All right. I have a term at the end of practice or training sessions, and I tell them that we're getting ready to let the dogs out. All right. That's what we do at the end of a lift or end of a workout. We're going to have a competitive period. We're going to let the dogs out and we're going to get after it. We're going to let athletes do what they do best. Now, again, don't come at me. I'm all about respect. I'm all about sportsmanship, shaking hands. But when people are on the field in a heated moment, as long as there's nothing malicious, let people be the competitors that they are. Let them have their competitor spirit. Let Angel compete. Let Caitlin compete. Let them have their spirit. All right. So that's just my thought on that. So a couple more things before we wrap up here today. It won't be a super long show, but we'll get a couple more thoughts out here. Let's talk about the Dion thing. Can y'all calm down? Like Dion told us that this was going to happen. He came in and he said, I'm done. He said in the meeting, he said, I'm bringing my bags, and they're Louis or whatever, but all jokes aside, but he told people I'm done. I'm cleaning house. I'm bringing in people. All right. And when he went to position meetings, he told them the same thing. He asked certain questions, almost interview style, right? Exactly interview style. And there were certain answers that were given, and that answer granted you, we know where you fit on this team. You don't. All right. When you take on a place that was 1-11, or you take on a high school job even where they've been bad, funding's been bad, winning's been bad, whatever, you have to check everybody. You have to check every coach, every student athlete to see whether they really want to be a part of this. And to a degree, you have to clean house. All right. When I was at Lids, when I was 19, 20, I think I was 20, I had a job at Lids. Long story short, I was the temporary store manager, interim store manager. I went in, I had a meeting. I talked to everybody. I told them with how the store looked and how things were, a lot of you weren't going to make it. All right. I was dead honest with them. A lot of you are not going to have a job here. This store, they hired me to do a job. They hired me to make this store better, to make everybody's experience in this store better, whether it was the people that wanted to work hard and be there, which was a few that I kept, or whether it was the people coming in to shop. They wanted a good experience. They deserved it. That's the job of us at Lids at that time, right? Is to provide a good experience. So I kept a few people who were fire, who were just absolutely about the work and putting in extra hours with me. Shout out to Herb and Herb Washington. Shout out if you're watching. And Lee. Shout out to two. So if you guys are watching, man, you guys were killers in there. Stone cold killers in the game. You guys were incredible. But long story short, everybody else had to go for the most part. I mean, we might have kept one more person part-time, but everybody had to go because there was so much stuff going wrong there that there's a reason it went wrong. And the people that were a part of it going wrong were still there. So back to Prime, right? To close this out, Prime is cleaning house because the people that were there he clearly found were the reason they went 1-11. He clearly found the habits, the character, the culture, the ways that they did things was clearly the reason. And obviously it was. You get the results that you breed, right? So clearly a lot of these people, whether it was coaches, other staff, student athletes, unfortunately, a lot of them were a problem. Now, here's the thing. You can say, Coach, that's mean. Those are kids. We have a transfer portal in college football. Kids can leave whenever they want. They can go to school. Look, these kids from Colorado can go. There's great football everywhere. I just went to an NAIA scrimmage game, spring game, and there was big plays everywhere. Big plays everywhere. These kids can go down to an NAIA. They can go D2. They can go D3. They can go down to FCS. They can go to another FBS school. There's options. The transfer portal makes things different because now kids can move at their freedom, right? So if Prime goes in and he decides, I'm going to bring in kids that really want to work, and I'm going to bring in kids that really fit the mold, and all these other guys are done, they got to go hit that transfer portal, then he's doing what he feels the need to give everybody in Colorado, the fans, the staff, the faculty, the kids that want to be there, he's giving them what he needs to do to give them the best experience possible. All right. And give his time there the best experience possible. And I don't blame him for that. Not one bit. Okay. You work for the results that you get. And I just think there's opportunities for kids. These kids that leave Colorado can play football somewhere. It may not be D1. It may be going across the world or country, whatever. But resourceful in today's college football game, they'll have their chances. Prime's got to build a culture, man. Coaches have to build around people that want to be there. They have to build around people that want to push things forward. Same way you build a business. If somebody in your business is not pushing things forward, you have to let them go. Our business has had to do it. Brain Jerks had to do it. A million businesses in the world have had to let things or people, situations or people go that didn't push the business forward. All right. And that's just part of life, just to be honest with y'all. So with that being said, Prime's got to let guys go. They got to go. Some of them guys are obviously going to leave on their own too. That's not all Prime. So don't think for 1 minute, all them guys he kicked out. So when you see that big number, some of that is them guys leaving. All right. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you got to clean house to build up what's right. All right. That's just kind of the message. Sometimes to build the culture, you got to break the culture. You got to break things down to build it back up. So that's just my thoughts on those couple hot topics. And just to finish, man, and piggyback off, shout out to Concordia. Went out there today. Shout out to Coach Poe. Love Coach Poe, man. Great guy. We do a lot at Concordia as far as going out there, but it just gave me another thought today after listening to Coach Harris and Coach Poe the last few weeks. We got to find a way to do this. Spring practice is super important. We need guys to be durable. We need guys to learn how to tackle. The amount of reps they're doing on dummies and tackle rings and bags, and then the spring game, and the amount of things we can do from a resource standpoint. Some of this is stuff we said the last few weeks, so I won't harp on it too long. But guys, whatever we can do, we got to make it happen. A lot of times when there's enough voices that get together on something, it can push for change, right? So however, we got to keep pushing for this, whether it's, different things like this podcast or different organizations, but that's something that needs to come to the state. Our boys deserve it. Basketball can do stuff all the time and play ball all the time to develop their athletes and that sort of thing. And we really need it. We need our guys to be able to come together and play ball before the fall. So just to reiterate on that, went out to Concordia, just saw how much benefit it would do for us, how many drills they were running just individually. The competition periods were fire. It was just awesome, man. So again, something we need to do in Michigan. It's a hot topic. Ohio, if anybody that's, of relevancy that has a voice in Ohio ever listens to this podcast, as far as like getting word in somebody's ear, push that thing through so we can get it here in Michigan. Because the more states that do it, the more you kind of, I think the more that people do something in life, the more you get put in that corner at times, especially when it doesn't make sense, because this does not make sense at all. This shit without having spring ball makes zero sense. So to me, when things don't make sense and you have no common sense involved, you get backed into a corner because eventually people with logic take over. and you just get put in that spot. So we get enough states to do it. I think we can do it. But yeah, man, just another reiteration this week. Hey, every time we got a football coach on, we might talk a little bit about it until somebody hears it. So I know there's some new people that started listening to this that have pretty good roles on some different committees and boards. So I know you guys hear me. So keep listening to the podcast. And when I have football guys on, we're going to keep preaching. So we need spring ball in Michigan for high school football. All right, let's get it done. Let's get it done. Guys, before I get out of here today, I want to talk about one more thing. I got to encourage you guys, highly encourage you to go see Air. I know I said it once before. It was like our watch of the week instead of a book, because I had actually forgotten a book that day to be self-accountable. But I need you guys to go see Air. All right. The story about how Michael Jordan got signed with Nike when he had no interest. Listen, I'm telling you guys, I bring this up because it's so important. So many kids that are watching this, guys, please, whether you're an athlete, a coach, a business person, I need you to please go see this. Please go see this movie. All right. It's incredible. If you want me to be honest with you guys, I got goosebumped. I got teary-eyed. I wanted to jump up to the roof a few times and run laps through the theater. I was so motivated and inspired. I'm telling you guys, it's crazy. It's crazy good. It's something that I think every student athlete and every business person, every entrepreneur, every coach, I think every single one of you should watch it. I told my wife, she thinks I'm crazy, but I'm dead serious. I think it's my favorite movie ever. And keep this in mind, guys. I don't watch movies a lot. I don't get a ton of opportunities to watch movies. I coach from basically sun up to sundown, or do something involved with working, coaching, or business. And I don't get chances to watch movies. When I do watch them with family, typically I fall asleep, and that's my rest time. All jokes aside, though, watch that movie. It's phenomenal. I've seen it twice now in theaters. It's incredible. All right. So need you guys to go watch it. It's an awesome movie. Again, there's a couple scenes in there that I think you can take a ton from, you can learn from. And I think the most important, and we'll leave the show on this note today before we check out of here. I think the most important note, don't quit and don't give a shit what anybody says when you say you're going to do something. Don't care. When I started coaching, and I'll leave it on this note, guys, when I started coaching, they told me, when I first started coaching, there was a lot of people, because of my past or who I was as a teenager or certain things, problems that I dealt with, they laughed at me and told me they didn't know how I was going to be able to coach. How is a kid like you, with your situation and your past and the things you went through, how are you going to be able to coach? And it's funny because I always answered and told them, well, that's exactly why. Like, it's the learning experiences. Well, that's exactly why, because I'm going to teach these kids how to get through things and how to be them best selves and how to build character, right? All them sort of things that coaches are here to do. So, but to keep that just shorter, that's just a little bit, and as far as that goes. So again, guys, I appreciate you guys listening to this show. But if you guys can do something that you believe you can do and they tell you can't, don't listen to it. Go do it. Air will teach you that. All right. Go watch that movie. Appreciate you guys tuning in to the show today. You can find me at KennedyHealthWellness.com. You can also find me at Coach K93 on Instagram. That is the training Instagram. I also have a training group on Facebook. So if you join the group, I post OTA stuff, our camp updates, all that stuff. You can go find all that on there. Please go join our group. Go follow us on Instagram. We appreciate it. There's also an Instagram for Big Back Prep. And last but not least, because I forgot every week before this, please go follow the new Kickin' It with Coach K Instagram. We have an Instagram for this page. Every week we post some quote that we found from the week before. I got a Detroit Prowl. Again, shout out to them. I got a quote coming with the link to their show coming soon. So every week, though, we kind of post some things. And I'm going to be actually elaborating on that more and add more to that here in the future. So make sure you follow. Guys, make sure you also check out Brain Jerk on Facebook and Instagram. Need you guys to go check that out. I'm on their page right now. You can find all these podcasts and you can find all their events. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next Sunday, May 7th. Before we get out of here, you know who we have on next week? D Mills, the champ, will be in the house. One-on-one sit down with the champ, D Mills. And I can promise you this, we're going to dive into some interesting conversations, some great conversations. Let's talk that talk. I'll see you guys next Sunday.